next item on the agenda are tree protection awards.
So my name is Sally Benz. I'm the town arborist of Atherton, and I'm going to be presenting the awards tonight, but it's on behalf of the tree committee, and I think we have one member of the tree committee here represented, so that's good. So next slide. So the tree committee is a nonprofit committee in the town of mostly residents that work together for the preservation of heritage trees in the town through educational events, through tree planting, through Arbor Day. They're trying to get across the value of heritage trees and how to protect them and how to take care of them. So, as always, we are looking for people to join the committee. So I'm just giving a little plug. If you're interested in tree issues, we meet once a month. So let me know if you're interested. But tonight, the committee wanted to present the Tree Protection Awards because of the high amount of construction that's going on and around town, which does affect the heritage trees. And they want to work with the builders, the architects, and the homeowners to show them the importance of heritage trees and the importance of following the tree ordinance that the town has in place. So there's two awards that we're presenting tonight. The first one is for 81 Somerset. This site is currently under construction. I think they're in their second year of construction. I think I've been out to the site around 6 times over the past year. They have perfect tree protection. They have a 6-foot fence that's metal. I haven't seen them move it at all. The site is always clean and organized. It is a large site. They've protected all the trees. So for these reasons, we're presenting our award to Alton Construction tonight.
Thank you to Town of Atherton. It's our first project in town, and it has really been a pleasure working with the town, the staff, everything else. It's just, it's been a real pleasure working here. So, thank you very much.
You can see in the pictures they just have really great tree protection, even though they are building close to the trees. This isn't a project I reviewed, but they have really great protection. So this isn't what I see a lot. So that's great. So the next site is 119 Tuscaloosa, and this site just finalized, I think, in the last month. They have a lot of trees on site that they preserved, a lot of oaks, a lot of redwoods. They preserved trees, they protected them. I went out there a few times. The site was very clean and organized. You can see in the next slide that they've planted large, moderate-sized species like the ginkgos and the London plane trees, which I don't always see. A lot of times I see smaller trees planted at the end of a project, so that's really great to see. Also, in the next slide, you can see they incorporated the existing heritage trees into their site plan. So they worked around the 3 redwoods in the main buildable area. They worked around oaks in the driveway. So they really did try to preserve trees on site, so that's great. So for those reasons, and also I wanted to mention that we're giving the award to DJ Balling, the construction company, but I also wanted to thank Joe Martin, who has hired DJ Balling to do such a wonderful, great job. And so we're going to present, the tree committee is presenting this award to you, and I really appreciate sites like this.
I'd like to thank the town. We've been here for 10 years and want to continue on many more.
Thank you. We really appreciate both of your focus and concern for preservation of these trees. They really define our town. They're extremely important to everyone in the town. There's lots of discussion about it because we're about to do our construction project in the Civic Center, and protecting the trees is the most important thing, or one of the most important things for us. So thank you very much.
You're an example to follow.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the city manager's report. Public comments, sorry about that. Any public comments? Okay, seeing none.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, you have the report presented this evening, and staff is present to answer any questions you can provide out. There wasn't any
the staff for the hard work they put in to get this done, recognizing it was a priority for the council, and I just, particularly Mike, I know has put a lot of work into it, and I just wanted to bring everybody's attention to it, know that that took some effort, and it's going well. And my question, which I guess is directed to you, Mike, is would love to hear from you when you anticipate the beacon being up and operational.
Okay. Well, with council action tonight by awarding the bid, for this particular project, it will not mean that they're gonna start construction, you know, like next month, and we explained that in the report. And the reason being is that for this type of project, the poles, that are gonna hold the lights are all specifically designed for every location. So that's about a 4 to 5 month lead time item. But in order to expedite the project, that's gonna be owner provided. So the town actually purchased that separately and is gonna provide that to the contractor. And so by doing that, we shaved about 2 months off the schedule. But Councilmember, to answer your question, we expect to receive the poles in the March, April timeframe. At that point, we'll start construction. And so we're hoping that the project will be complete and the beacon will be operational, in the May of 2016 timeframe.
Thanks.
Any other comments?
Well, I guess just a question, Mike. I noticed that in your staff report, you did say that it's standard practice for towns to do that. So there's not an issue with regards to liability should any of the poles fail or anything like that. The contractor is, is taking, it's a joint responsibility, and this is a standard practice.
Well, to say this is not an uncommon thing. I mean, not every city does this, but a lot of cities do, again, to expedite it. And the poles are going to be, they are required to be inspected and approved by Caltrans, actually, prior to delivery onto the site. So we have never experienced any liability issues.
Okay, great, thanks.
Can I get a motion?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Unanimously approved. The next item on the agenda is item 14, which is a public hearing on recommended increase to green waste rates, decrease in garbage cart rates, and establishing a minimum service flat fee per resident within Athens. Robert, is that your?
Yes, sir. Good evening, council and members of the public. Yeah, tonight we are holding a public hearing, and the recommendation is to conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed increase in green waste rates, decrease in garbage cart rates, and establishing a minimum service flat fee rate for the town of Atherton. Tabulate any protests received, and if appropriate, introduce the attached ordinance for the first reading, an ordinance of the City Council of the town of Atherton setting refuse collection rates. The refuse committee met in August, and the committee's recommendations, you have the staff report before you. I'm going to just summarize the recommendations. The first recommendation was committee suggested the rate decrease to the garbage carts, 64 and 96 gallon as a rate decrease. So the 64 gallon cart is going from $110 to $102, a reduction of $8. The 96 gallon cart from $164 to $152, reduction of $12 per cart. The subcommittee recommends that all other residential garbage refuse rates be maintained at their current levels. Second, the green carts. There's a green cart increase for carts 3 and 4 from $11 each to $15. Carts 5 and above from $18 each to $20 each, and these are to move the green carts. The committee recommends move the green carts closer to true cost recovery. And the third item is a standard flat fee per household of $25. This flat fee is not an additional increase to refuse. It is built into the current rates and allows for a minimum collection of $25 fee for those properties that have a vacation hold, vacancy, or under construction. With the total recommended fee changes, the total fiscal impact is increase of $2,238 per month. Attaches an ordinance adjusting only the green cart, 64 gallon and 96 gallon carts, and establishing a $25 minimum flat fee. With that concludes my report. Any questions?
I have a question about the notice that was sent out, pursuant to Proposition 218. Had council reviewed that and approved that notice be these rates?
No, the council doesn't review the noticing part of it, it's just, the notice actually sets the hearing, that you're actually seeing, not the notice itself.
But in the notice, it was, these rates that were
Yeah.
indicated. So it was just the committee that, set these, estimates and new rates without council's input.
Well, the committee didn't set them, the council actually sets them, the committee just recommended them.
Understand,
Yeah.
but the council did not review
Correct.
the notice that was sent out. And so, you know, when these notices get sent out, it's almost like a fait accompli. I think a resident says, oh, well, you know, this is what the town has, agreed to do. So, it just feels a little backwards to me.
But on the other hand, if the council reviewed it, anytime you review anything, we have to go out and we have to do certain things. And you can't review fees until it's been noticed, because that's state law. So it's a catch-22. You're absolutely right, it seems counterintuitive, but at the same time, we try to make sure that the notice says this is a proposed rate, and that you can still protest it, and that's the best
We
we
only
can,
received
the best
one,
we can really do.
received one protest.
Two.
Two.
Okay. 2 years.
It's a good point, it's just, we can't do it another way because we have to follow the state law.
Any other questions? Is there any public comment on this item?
I'm sorry, I did have a question going back to the flat fee. I want to make sure I understand this properly. And
$25.
no, I get that. I want to make sure I understand why it's a fee and not a tax. And I talked to Bill Connors about this earlier, particularly with regard to homes that are under construction that can't be inhabited. People are clearly not going to be using any of the services, and we're charging a flat fee for that service. Do they have some way of seeking a rebate or a refund of that if they're not going to be using the service?
No, the only charge is the 25 flat fee for that purpose.
It's essentially an administrative fee as a placeholder, essentially, because everybody is in the computer as an address. And so everybody, the truck drives by and looks to see, because it's not like they're gonna, well, they probably will call and say, please start my service. And so they're going by, they're checking. Same with water. When you hook up to the water meter, hook up a water meter to the house, regardless of whether you're using it, you still pay for it to be on standby. And they're still able to have garbage service put in place at any time. And basically, I think it's just really because their computer, every month they're running it and they're using it, so it's just an administrative fee. Could be.
I understand. We earlier heard about a house that was in its second year of construction. If the house is going to be under construction for 2 or 3 years, and there's not going to be any garbage collected during that time because they're using some other private service or whatever, if we're charging them a flat amount every month, that still feels very much like a tax to me and not a user fee.
Well, there's no savings really, other than what goes to the landfill, which is minimal, because the truck still has to drive by that location. The majority of the costs associated with trash pickup here in this town is the labor hours and the depreciation of the truck as it comes by, so it's still gonna go there. They don't know whether they're gonna pick up or not. In many houses that are under construction, the gardeners are still there and they're still putting out green bins. So many of them are that way. Additionally, there are the houses that are owned by people who aren't in town for extended periods of time or not at all. And we've seen that in other jurisdictions as well. Hillsborough does a similar thing, only they had the flat fee added into property taxes. We didn't want to do that because we didn't want to have people question why the property taxes went up $300.
I think that's actually the question I have. So
Yeah.
rather than doing it from the perspective of the cost or of service being, to the service provider, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of the consumer who's not, in this case, not using the service, who's being charged for it. And to me, again, it feels almost more appropriate to go into property taxes because if you're not using the service, you're paying for it. That's ineffective.
But they have a right to use the service, so that there's some minimal cost associated with having to set up their account and have the right to have the service. And if they're building a house, I don't think they're $300.
I understand about that's my 20. I fully get it's $25 a month.
I think it really is, it's really meant, if you read the staff report, it's really meant as an administrative standby. It's a placeholder essentially, especially with vacationing people and things like that, because if they come back for a vacation early, if they said, I'll stop it for 6 months, they come back early, and they put cans up, they're still gonna pick up the cans. And it's the same thing with, I think Bill's pointing to gardeners or putting out green stuff, and they might even have, I know places where they have mountain lions, oh, that's here, mountain lions, they make them put the lunch stuff in a cart, and they might have that cart go out or something. So it just depends, but I think the reason.
But you're
is just-
comfortable that it properly
it fits
created as a fee.
into the fee schedule because the fee is never 100% of what it costs to collect trash.
To the mayor.
Yes.
So it seems like it's a balancing number, you know, to kind of offset the reductions that we're giving the 64 and the 96 gallon rates. How much will that fluctuate? Because right now there's how many, 156 of these that we're collecting on. How much does that fluctuate? Is it going to continue to go down? Does it remain about that much? I mean, how can we depend upon that amount of revenue to act as a balancing act to these adjustments?
When we looked at it, if they come off vacation or they're actually putting trash out, there's not going to be much of an increase in the servicing of that. So it's going to stay about the same, and in fact, they'll be paying $2 more if they're small. But the key thing with adjusting the top levels down was to more or less have a little bit more rate compression, because it's a governmental agency that's providing the same service, whether it's a little can or a big can, and so we want to not have too much discord with regards to people paying more for.
But one of the reasons I thought that we had the higher rates for the larger waste cans was to encourage people to reduce their solid waste usage and go to smaller wastes.
That's correct.
Because we want to reduce the amount of solid waste going into the landfill and to recycle more and to use composting and things like that. And so now we're reducing those higher rates.
Yeah, well, since and one of the reasons was because of some of the challenges that Prop 218 with regards to water is a very similar situation. And so the average cost of pick up for everybody, if we give everybody one flat rate, would be $50 a month. So we still want to have that differential, but if we're showing faith in trying to compress the rates of the people that are paying over, then we're doing a
Using
good
more.
part. Yes.
Using
Using more.
Right.
Then we're trying to compress.
Yeah.
Then we're showing good faith to try and bring the rates together, as opposed to just doing some draconian things, everybody's paying the same fee.
So how are we looking in the balance for our true up? Are we going to be over or under when we have to true up at the end of our contract?
We're in pretty good shape. If you remember last time, we talked about a surplus, and we worked with Robert, we worked with Marshall on that surplus, and we looked at what the rates progressions are going to be, not only with the labor increases that they've had with the new contracts, but also with the VRS people, they're going to raise their rates shortly, and then our rate. And that's the people that work. The county provides some people that are working in the sorting at the transfer station. So they're working today, they're making $11 an hour, but they're going to raise their rates a little bit. But anyway, our labor rates are going up for the pickup, and our disposal fees are going up. So when we did a projection based on information that we got from Marshall Moran, who was the finance director of the SPWMA, as well as working with Robert, we felt that we were going to be in good shape just about at the time we ran out.
And we
of this
won't owe
contract.
a lot.
We won't owe a lot. In fact, we don't think we'll owe anything.
We're trying to keep stabilization till at least 2020.
Right, and then
2020. Okay.
And that's when we're gonna be renegotiating the landfill agreements. So, Bill and I are, we're watching the Greenway, trying to do the reduction and getting to where we're compacting our rates. And then we'll deal with some of the issues in 2020 when we start renegotiating agreements related to landfill.
Yeah, we don't wanna have that same problem where we have 100% increase, that didn't go over well with a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we don't wanna have that happen first off, and there will be, I guess, next year,
Yeah.
we're gonna have a study session, because we'll have to make some decisions earlier as to whether or not we want to stay with Recology
Right.
by the end of 2017, and if we don't, then we go out for an RFP, and we'll have to go through the whole process that we did, which will take a couple, 2 or 3 years, so.
I think that we've come up with, that we believe that this is the best route between telling people we're going to do a reduction in rates or increasing rates every other year, that we've said our most concern is to create stabilization so that people are consistent with their rates within a, very minor amount, and that's why, gone in this direction.
And I assume that if our landfill costs go up, we'll be reevaluated.
Absolutely.
And it's likely we'll increase the cost at the larger end, because we do wanna drive people.
Absolutely, and that's the goal of creating the stabilization prior to the negotiations in the landfill. So we're targeting 2020, and that's why, keep that as stable as possible.
Okay, well,
Okay, let's,
Pretty good.
10 minutes. Any other comments?
Good point.
so do you wanna motion to approve?
Like the public hearing.
Public hearing.
I asked if
Yeah,
there were.
you did.
Sorry.
So then, can I suggest that we approve and waive the reading of this ordinance, but approve moving forward for this first reading of this, change in our trash rates?
I will second that.
Sorry, committee, this is our waste committee.
Right, but everyone gets to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously approved.
Guys,
Okay, and the next item on the agenda is the Civic Center report.
Yes, I don't have anything in addition to what's in the report. In addition to the report, the city manager also sent out some additional information earlier today, recapping the CCA meeting that happened earlier this week.
Good.
And thanks for sending that out.
Future iteration, thank you. And future iterations will include some additional financial information, hopefully from Atherton now, once they go public with their campaign, but certainly with respect to expenditures that are ongoing as the project moves forward.
Great.
No question?
No.
Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, and no further comment?
Nope. Okay.
I think this is just, an information item.
Yeah.
The next item on the agenda is the adoption of a fee resolution to waive permit fees for the installation of photovoltaic systems.
Yes, and this is as a result of council direction we received at your September meeting, where we brought to you several options for fees. And then based on that, it was council's desire to waive fees, and so that's basically what this resolution provides.
So, I have a question.
Yes.
So of the 27 permits per year that we receive, do we know how many are for new construction, or how many are just for remodel or just add-on? And the $526 per permit, is that a baseline, and can some of the permits be more costly if it's a larger installation?
First of all, on the existing fee of $526, that basically is the fee. So in some cases, depending on the size, the actual cost may be a little lower. In some cases, it may be a little higher. But on average, by collecting $526 per fee, it's a full cost recovery for the town. Your first question, I think we do. I don't have it with me, but I'd be happy to provide to the council kind of that breakdown of how many are on existing homes versus new homes. We'd be happy
It
to
really
do that.
doesn't seem like a lot to me, 27 permits a year per photovoltaic, with all the construction that is going on. So, do you think that, I guess council, I guess that's the question, if we waive that $526 fee, will people be more incentivized to install photovoltaics?
I think that there's gotta be the education component. I mean, we wanna promote the fact that we're waiting to be, please, consider this as, I would hope we get a balance in that. I know it's difficult, and I know that our arborist is left because of all the trees we have, so it is, difficult at times to try. I know I consider it, I have too many trees to,
Me too.
yeah, so I mean, I hear that yell, but I would really love to try to promote this particular, feature.
Well, the average PV installation for a moderate sized house here in Atherton is about $25,000 to put the PV system in. So $500 isn't that
Right.
much, but I think that the fact that we're encouraging it, I think, goes along with our climate action plan.
Right.
It says, hey, we're trying to encourage things and we're doing things to incentivize people, and so $500 is $500.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a step in the right direction.
It's more of a,
Yeah.
It's a small drop in the bucket.
yeah.
I agree with that. I think it's more a statement by us that we consider this important, and I agree with Carrie that it does need education. If our measurement was that we really wanted to get more systems, of course, we could require the photovoltaic, but we decided not to do that.
I think
So-
it would be difficult to require if it's not gonna be effective,
So I think for now, this is a good step, and it's just a statement.
In answer to your question, Vice Mayor Lewis, from the September staff report, Brent wrote, the town's building department processes on average 27 PV permits per year, 65-35 in the ratio of 10 kilowatt versus larger systems, 35%. Prior to the recent ordinance, it was $526 permit fee regardless of the size of the PV installation. With the expedited ordinance, 10 kilowatt and smaller systems were $258 plus a technology fee. The full cost recovery for the larger system is still $526.
Okay.
Is there any public comment on this issue? Okay. Any further comment on the council? We need a resolution.
There's an attached resolution to be adopted.
So I move that we approve the attached resolution, waiving the permit fees for photovoltaic systems.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimously approved. The next item on the agenda is approval of a budget amendment for completion of the town's climate action plan. Lisa?
Thank you. Following the City Council's study session on the Climate Action Plan, we asked the consultant working on the plan on behalf of the town through CCAG to prepare a scope of services to kind of get us to the finish line, we so hope. And one of the thoughts was that we would do one more version that ran the numbers for what the EPC had recommended as far as measures, and then also kind of the non-mandatory voluntary approach of the measures. I know there was a question prior to the meeting about, well, do we already have funds available with that consultant to run one more round of numbers? And yes, we do, but I think staff's quite concerned that we need to have a little bit of buffer in this moving forward if there's indeed one more iteration that needs to be run. Maybe there's a hybrid approach that comes out, or there's some measures that are not necessary and others come back in. So we just wanted to have a little room in there. This would be based on time and materials, so if we don't need that extra round, then they won't charge us for it.
Any questions?
So just to make sure that I'm clear, I thought we indicated that, my familiarity with that was that the numbers are there for, and that's what we were looking for, not run the numbers. I mean, obviously they need to give us an analysis of if it's recommended or versus mandatory.
Right.
So, and they're gonna run that, they said they thought 6% or whatever the base number
it is,
is, or, but they were gonna come back and verify. But there is a number associated with each of those items, so we just need to have those down, so as we're looking at those numbers and we're looking at those items, we know how much we're really talking about, and we can do the, have a running number. Not having the numbers there when we're discussing the items,
Right.
and knowing whether or not we're taking a hard line on something that's worth 1 point, or is we want to know that so that, know, we wanna have our discussion on the meaty issues. And so, you know, for me, and what I thought we asked for was not, please rerun the numbers, but give us the detailed data, right? And
but
hopefully
they-
we're on the same page with regards to that, other than the fact that mandatory versus recommended.
Yeah, so the numbers they'd run were on that original plan that came before the council many months ago. And then the newly constituted EPC added additional measures that numbers were never run on. And so it's those measures that we need to do that analysis.
Okay, but when we look at it again in January, I guess what I'm hoping to see,
Yeah.
for me, is what the number is of each of those things there, and if the EPC added things into it, which some of the things were embellished as we discussed.
Right.
Say, okay, at base number it's 16 points or whatever, but with these extra things, it goes to 17, okay, I'd like to know that too, but.
Okay,
I don't
yeah, so
want
we
to
can
see it-
show-
I don't wanna have a magic number.
Right.
So because this will be, you know, this will be an evergreen contract with these guys.
Well,
No.
we would
Yeah.
not like to do that.
Yeah.
We would like to finish this task, very much so. But we can bring the, kind of the original recommended cap that met the goal, right, met the target, the enhanced ones by EPC, and then the non-mandatory version, so that you'll have kind of that menu to look at.
So you'll have a column for you, we're gonna
Yeah.
thank for your buck.
Okay.
Is there any public comment on this item? Any further comments on the council? No, okay, can I get a motion to approve the attached resolution?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the last item on the agenda, well, I guess we do have a public comment on it, but is a commendation to Councilmember Whitmer for submitting a council report.
I enjoyed reading everybody else's.
Oh, wow. Everybody else's, I'm sure, is coming.
Oh, okay.
You'll be able to read it over Thanksgiving.
Okay,
It'll
thank
be
you.
lengthy.
It will be lengthy.
And we-
Okay.
Looking forward to reading
And-
it Friday evening
And that,
after Thanksgiving.
is there any public comment on Councilmember Whitmer's council report?
It's a little
Okay.
skinny.
That's not public comment. Is there any future agenda items? No, good, can I get a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Oh,
You have
I'll
one
second
minute.
that.
Wait a minute, no, I'm,
You wanna
let's
talk
see,
about
I do.
You can solve.
So I wanna know why the city manager is wearing a red leg.
Let's, this is out of order.